Now watch what you're saying. We're live. Saturday night.
Don't move that table. One leg of that is just about falling off. There you go.
Oh, I see the box.
All right, it's 1 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order and start off with a roll call.
William Beavers is excused. Tara George is excused. David Simmons.
Present.
Margaret Wilson is excused. Ray Baker is excused. Rebecca Danino.
Here.
John Farquhar.
Here.
Jim McCready.
Here.
Mark Souza.
Here.
Ron Warner. David Brennan is excused. Jill Dunham. Kenneth Kurt.
Here.
Josh Wells. Carl Turner.
Present.
Kenneth Chikoski.
Here.
Thomas Pasquarelli.
Here.
Aaron Robinson. Michael Schwartz.
Here.
Anthony Agresta. You said he's working. Sidney Chase.
Here.
Timothy Foster.
Here.
Victor Jones is excused. Elizabeth McGowan is present. Damon West is excused. Dan Bixby.
Here.
Owen Hahn.
Here.
Howard Huth.
Here.
Judith Tiffany.
Here.
Peter Nichols. Louis Jones. And Dr. Markowitz is excused. We have a quorum, sir.
All right. I'd like to start off the meeting by offering our condolences to Joyce Malidi as well as speculator ambulance on the passing of Phil Malidi, and at this time ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. The word took hard circulating around. Get well for Joyce as well as condolence card. If you haven't signed them, please see Beth. Everyone should have received the meeting minutes from April 18th. Anybody have any corrections, additions, deletions? If not, I'll take a motion to Howard. Second. Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Guests.
Guests we have today are Deb Cuffs, Sierra Fountain, Jeffrey Palkovic, and Alex Kazor from the state. Miss anybody? You're part of the group. Just like Tim, you're part of the group.
All right, correspondence will be in the minutes. Chairman's report, I have nothing, so we'll move right to the secretary's report.
There is a newly published schedule here that changes the October date if you need dates. If your agency elects new officers, please remember to submit a certified EMS agency update form. It's DOH 2936 to both the region and the State Bureau to update agency contact information. Please check if your agency has a current CLIA waiver from Wadsworth Laboratories if you provide glucometry. ARMS at one point had a group CLIA waiver that expired in 2021. I will be working with the Bureau to conduct an audit to determine if all agencies have a CLIA waiver, and that would be all ALS agencies and any agency that does glucometry as a BLS modality.
You can't get them out of them. I mean, you send stuff in, they don't ever send you anything.
Yeah, you don't get nothing back.
I was going to say, I know people who are getting stuff. Tim?
It took a long time, but we did get ours.
It's been over a year.
Yeah. It didn't quite take that long. I want
It
to
took me about 6
4
months to get mine, but I had a problem with 2 different agencies at the same address.
It's
It
been a
really
year
took a
and I
long
haven't done
time.
anything.
Okay.
If you've gone more than 6 months, shoot me an email with information, and I'll try to follow up from my side.
One other note on that, it does take a while. You will get something back, and also any agency, fire district, and municipality, there's no fee. That's the push that.
Municipality is probably a fee. I had to pay $100 per card. It's the volunteers has no fee.
Pardon me?
Volunteers have no fee.
Yeah, that's right.
Municipalities would be a
Fire
$100 fee.
district
Yeah, we have.
or a municipality
We have
that
that.
does.
And that's
Volunteers don't have to
like,
pay?
I believe it was a free thing for volunteers.
We've
Yeah.
been paying the fee, I don't know.
I believe it
volunteer
depends on the
agencies.
type of agency you
Yeah.
are, whether you are truly all volunteer or a mix of volunteer and paid, or
It's $100, but check with your people, because I do know that, I can't remember the exact wording of the bill, but I do know that districts and municipalities that are volunteer, I don't know about part or not part, are no fee.
Also, recently found out in order to get mileage reimbursements, it's now required that a Google Maps type map with documentation of the mileage will be required as part of the submission to the state for reimbursement. So I'm gathering kind of a database of those, so you only have to submit it once. I'll get your name on it, and then just every time I issue a check, I'll Xerox it and stick it on there. That's my report.
All right, treasurer's report.
For the period from April 19th through May 16th, our savings account opening balance was $4,150.06, deposits of $1.69, for a closing balance of $4,151.72. A REMSCO operating account, $1,077.05, with expenditures of $522.55, deposits of $610.45, for a balance of $1,164.95. Our CON account, $16,589.28, expenditures of $417, for a balance of $16,172.28. State vouchering, on 4/30/2024, I submitted a 2022-2023 second quarter voucher for the amount of $6,590.63. Also on April 30th for quarter 3, 2022 to 2023 contract, I submitted a voucher for $5,630.69. Actually, I say I submitted them, Tim submitted them to the state. I learned how to fill them out. There will be no voucher for Q4. There were no expenses. And the REMO contract for 2023, the REMSCO contract for 2023-2024 contract year was submitted on 4/30/24. The contract was signed on 5/14, and it was amended and signed again on 5/16. That's my report.
Any questions on the treasurer's report? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Regional program update.
Yep, good afternoon, everyone. This is what we've done for ARMS in the last month. EPCRs, Edmondson Fire Department has changed the image trend. Only two pad applications this month. Delaware County Department of Public Works and OESI Central School District. I'm not sure if that's already on it or not.
No, I think it's open, I'm afraid.
Okay. There was one pad occurrence or usage reported from the Delaware County Sheriff's Office, but I don't have any details on that. BLS upgrades, only one Paseco Volunteer Ambulance went with check and eject. Two new providers were placed online, both for St. Johnsville, Charles Caruso and Eric Jennerin. Health Commerce System, I got a request from David Clare from West Oneonta Fire Department, working on getting him access to Health Commerce. Regarding protocol rollouts, I haven't been advised from anybody on our REMO end, namely Dr. McHugh or Dr. Daly, about any training plan. I'm not sure if it's going to be agency-specific and incumbent upon the individual agencies to kick that out or not. I asked Daly again, if I get any word, I'll give everybody a heads up on that. But everybody's supposed to be up and running on that, I believe, July 1st.
I just got an email from Steve Neerth from Greene County that there's a Vector Solutions things assigned to me for it, so.
Okay. So you guys are doing it agency-specific?
Something's out there, I think he just started on it.
Okay.
I don't know what he has, but if you want to reach out to him, I'm sure he should.
Yeah, if Doc Daly decides to crank out some type of training video or update, I'll let everybody know.
There is a training video on YouTube. There's a BLS video from Monroe Livingston. There's an ALS video. There's a acetaminophen video, and I believe that Hudson Valley is putting together a, some sort of education on the hospice care, new hospice care protocol.
And only two other items. Our next joint REMAC meeting will be Wednesday, June 5th. All the providers behaved this month. There were no disciplinary actions. And that concludes my report.
Thanks, Tim. Training.
I was going to piggyback on, we were talking about the protocols. I know I did reach out to Beth for some clarification. I don't know if anybody here has clarification on the antibiotic trauma protocol when it states about extended extrication time or transport time. Has anybody had any clarification on what extended means?
I have forwarded that to REMAC, and it is on the agenda for the June meeting.
I don't know if anybody here has heard anything.
I can tell you that it was left that way intentionally so that there was provider discretion. But if somebody really wants black and white,
I didn't know if it was like greater than an hour, greater than 30 minutes, what they were kind of, what their idea of extended.
When I
was.
spoke with someone from the basically the person who runs the collaborative protocol committee, in his mind, he's thought more than an hour.
right. You talked to
So.
Jeremy? Yeah, that's what I did.
I know Howard had a couple things.
Just quick, we had a good CIU this week, about 30 people, I think it was 28, but about 30 people went through it. We're gonna continue to do one of those in person fall and spring. We have 60-something applicants right now for our 35-seat paramedic class in the fall. So if anybody is still trying to get in, please get a hold of me sooner or later. We're adding a 1-day-a-week, 12-week A&P class this fall to the campus. So if anybody who you know is interested in paramedic next year, you'll have them get a hold of me, and they can actually do their A&P requirement this year, 1 day a week. It's built specifically just for EMS. That way, you can get in, it's a 1 day on campus, you can work it around your schedule, 12 weeks, get the class done, so you can get a little bit better aligned to try and get in next fall. If people are trying to get in this year and can't, we are doing a wait list that gives you priority seating for the following year. And there was something else, but I can't remember it. So everybody wins.
Having just kind of spent time at the state with everything, discovered that the specialty course sponsorship that was Aram's specialty course sponsorship is no more for lack of being renewed, which means that you are the specialty course sponsorship in the region. And I know I speak for, Victor asked me to bring it up, we need CLIs.
Yep.
Can you please schedule regular CLI and CIU to,
That was the other thing that I meant to talk about. Thanks, Beth. So we partnered like we've been trying to. And everybody saw the instructor update, the policy. If you didn't, go onto the website and take a look at the new instructor policy. The stuff that we've been working on for the past couple of years finally got through. It's just a matter of doing forms at this point, which should be out in the next month or two. But the process to become a CLI is going to be so much easier than it was in the past. You're going to be able to come in, do a national course. You can go take NEMSI 1, or we left the state CLI course in, but you can use an NEMSI course. So if you're really looking for a course, you can go someplace else and take the course. Come back and do a competency-based evaluation for CLI. So no more entire class long, teach all these 4,000 different things. Come in, you can improve competency back-to-back on 2 skill-based stations, then on 2 scenario-based stations, and then have either an RF, regional faculty, or a state representative that does a final audit, which can be done via Zoom or whatever, and then you get signed off. So if you get a CLI who's competent, has been teaching, or an instructor that needs CLI that's been competent in teaching with you for a while, you can easily have them go do the class, and then 5 labs, and get them signed off. So it's about competency, not repetition. So that's it. We split skill and scenario. That way there's some real emphasis on some debriefing and getting into actually driving educational points home and not just, banging out the skill sheets, because probably not going to use those anymore. So I partnered with Susie Supernan out in Syracuse, and we have a CLI course. We pushed it out, but it's full. I think she's got 64 people. So we took 32 at our site, she's got 32 at her site, and a wait list. So we're doing it, but we had very few people from this region actually apply. And the reason we did it, P.S., Cobbleskill's not taking any money off of it. And we did it as a partnership with Susie from Central New York. So it's online for 2 nights for the didactic stuff, and then you pick either the Syracuse site or the Cobleskill site to do a 1-day skills evaluation, and Susie and I split, one's a weekend day and one's a weekday day, so everybody has a chance. But we've got 64 people in, and very, very few from here. We've got folks from the New York City area that have enrolled, and the ones that are from our area have kind of dragged their feet on getting their application stuff in too. So we put it out there with plenty of notice, and we just haven't stepped up to the plate. So we're going to continue to try and run them, but one of the reasons why I really pushed for the NEMSI change was that it seemed to be the course was being held was what was slowing people down more than anything else. So now if you don't have that resource in your area, you have the resource somewhere, you just need to go to it. And the other thing I just want to clarify too is a lot of people, myself, are still saying this, but the regions, as far as where you were told that you could teach, have been kind of removed years ago by state legal. So as much as we all kind of work nicely together and we're respectful for each other, Northwell Health could run a paramedic program in downtown Cobleskill if they wanted to and got approved through the state. They don't, they're not gonna, and that's fine, but they could. So when it comes down to regional training responsibilities, we're all trying to kind of work that out right now, because state training ed is trying to figure out how to get regional training organized. And so if you have any thoughts on that, kick them my way. I'd be happy to bring them forward to training ed, or frankly, come to the CMAC REMSCO meetings. But yeah, we're going to continue to do what we can. So
Also throw out to everybody, I was on a call with Gene Meyer this morning, realized for CMEs, they're at least 7 weeks behind right now.
That was in my report from the state, yep.
So
at least.
Yeah.
Gene used other words to describe that at the SEMSCO meetings. I'm like, how's the office going? Oh, okay. So, yeah. Yep. They got a new hire in the office, though, so that might help, right? They got a new rep, Jenny Solomon, in education.
We'll run.
I guess while we're still in training, this is somewhat worth training. Deb, you want to talk about the CARES?
Sure. Okay, I'm here this afternoon at the invitation of Dr. Markowitz. I know he's talked about CARES in the past, cardiac arrest registry to enhance survival. Very briefly, it's a project that was developed in the early 2000s as a joint project between Emory University in Atlanta and the CDC. If you turn the first page over, there's some information I copied off their website. It shows how many states are fully involved, how many states are partially involved. And as you can see, it's been growing considerably. That data is described as nationwide, even though we're not at 100% as yet. Remo began participating in 2017 after some brief spurts and stumbles and trips, and we only had a couple agencies involved, and now we're pretty much covering the 6-county area. However, that's great, but I think what you really want to know is why bother, what do you need to do, and what are you going to get out of it? I mean, those are the things that I always ask as I'm trying to evaluate doing something new. So why bother? One of the things is that the information from rural areas is vitally important. And I know from coming from the Capital District that sometimes I'm surprised, and I don't mean that in a negative term, sometimes I'm surprised at the differences between how EMS has to function in an urban area and how it needs to function in a rural area. And a registry such as this needs the information from both. So that's my first. Second of all, you can definitely begin identifying some state and local issues that might be improvable. You want to make financial requests. You can stand there and say, but we're good people, we do good things, and everybody loves us, and whoever holds the purse strings is going to say, so what, prove it. And some of the data that you can extract from this particular registry will help you do that as you try to make your case, not only to those holding the purse strings, but those in your community who wonder why they have to pull over for the blue lights, the red lights, and whatever else. So, again, something for you to think about. It does help you meet part of New York State requirements for QI, because this is QI, National QI Initiative, and it does allow you, as individual agencies, as practitioners, as our co-region, to provide evidence-based cardiac care in your area. But more importantly, what do we expect from you? And we being CARES, and I'm not a CARES representative, by the way, and if you talk to Tim, he'll remember back to 2016 and 2017, when some of the words that you said Jean was using today, yeah, those were kind of coming out of my mouth too, at the time. However, what's required of you? First of all, you need to agree to participate. CARES looks at data from month to month, but then it utilizes data over a full year. So if you do agree to participate, it's going to be long-term participation, not just let's try this for a month. I'd rather have you talk to other people, call us up, take a look at the data that we have, and then make a decision rather than jump in, find that no, this isn't what you want to do, and back out. You need to develop a CARES data collection system, but as we were looking at the merging of the two areas, REMO staff, myself included, had started to do a lot of the administrative paperwork and IT work beforehand. So we actually have most of this set up for you already. So what we would be looking in terms of the data collection system is you taking a look at what we did and making sure we did it right. Do we have the right ambulances, partnered with the right volunteer fire departments, partnered with the correct law enforcement, partnered with the correct hospitals? We think we're okay, but we need you to tell us that we did that right or how to fix it. You need to dedicate one or more people to entering CARES data. They like it once a month, and they give you a month afterwards. So for the month of May, you would have until June 30th to enter cardiac arrest data. They do have training. In fact, they not only have it, but it's mandatory. If you will be entering data, then CARES provides the access and also the training for entering it. You need commitment from your medical director because there is a hospital component. Patients not just suffer cardiac arrest in the field, but we transport some of those to hospital settings, and there may be death in the ED, or there may be ongoing resuscitation, admission to the hospital, and even transfer to some type of higher level cardiac care center, and all of that data is captured and well beyond our ability to capture it. So having your medical director on board allows him or her to call the hospital and say, hey, what happened to Susie Jones, who arrested on this date and was transported to your facility? Then you can help provide that back to CARES if there is no one at the hospital to do that. We find in the REMO region that at most of the larger hospitals, there's data collection available. We don't need to do a thing, but sometimes at the smaller hospitals, our outlying hospitals, again, remember, we transport into Massachusetts and Vermont from some of our areas, and those hospitals aren't always set up to provide this, so we get the medical directors to help us out with that. You'll want to look at and use your local data to design and develop QI initiatives. As I took a look at a report from last year for us in REMO, we found, first of all, what we all tend to know is asystolic patients tend to stay asystolic. PEA patients tend to become asystolic, and VFVT patients oftentimes walk out of the hospital. Provided that early CPR, early AED is available in the community and has been utilized. We had, for a specific time frame last year, 41% of our out-of-hospital cardiac arrests had bystander CPR. That's not family, that's bystander CPR. And about 7% had AED use. So where would we like to place our emphasis? Having more AEDs in the community, or getting the AEDs that we do have in the community out to the patient's side, even possibly before EMS can get there. And then you would regularly report your findings to the REMAC in whatever way you currently report to the REMAC. I did put in there the data sheet. Cardiac arrest registry, this typical, looks like a state form, but it's not. That shows you the types of information that's being solicited for the registry. It is essentially a drop-down menu, or point and click, and then save on the bottom. It is kind of nice because if you forgot something, or you reversed a time so that the patient died before you arrived, and then you coded them, it'll tell you that your times are mixed and ask you to go back and review it. So it won't take the information unless the information is consistent, and it does ask you to look. There are required elements, and one of those required elements, and I'll get to a further comment on that in a moment, is demographics about your patient. Why? Because as we look across the country, who is it that suffers VFVT arrests? Are they the young folks or the older folks? Who is it that suffers PEA arrests? What ethnicity might be most affected? And is that an ethnicity that you see in your area, and therefore you might want to target with education or some other program? Optional elements, one of them is the times, and that was what frustrated us at REMO in the beginning. If we're an ALS agency and then the BLS agency provides the ambulance, but then the fire department was there first with the ADD, whose times are you talking about? What we found out is that generally documenting the ALS times gives the best information, because all preceding bits of information has been provided to ALS. But if it becomes unwieldy, that's an optional element. You can press cake and it will, save the information without the timing. So we allowed ourselves to become extremely frustrated over something that wasn't a problem. All right, so getting on to this demographics. How the dickens is this HIPAA compliant if it takes patient demographics? By somebody with a lot more legal initials after their name than I've ever had, it is deemed as HIPAA compliant, and the rationale is, first of all, there are only certain people that are given permissions, credentials to access, and secondly, at the end of the month, okay, so the data's going in for June, you have until June 30th to get that data in. It's then collated, and then the personal health information is scrubbed. Or excuse me, the personal demographics, I'm sorry. So patient's name, address, those types of things. So that's ultimately scrubbed. So why put it in there in the first place? So you have hospital follow-up. You can't follow that chart through the hospital unless you have the patient's name, date of birth, etc., to be able to follow it into the hospital setting. So that's why that requirement exists at all. And how much time are we talking here? Well, when you first start doing it, I have to say it probably takes about 15 to 20 minutes to chart, because you're trying to look and see who wants what pieces of information and where it goes on the CARES paperwork. 12 to 15 minutes is a reasonable time frame. I've been doing these far too long. Somebody, if you know Paul Segru from Colony, he tells me I have to change my phone number so that nobody can find me ever again. But it generally takes me about 7 minutes to do a chart, to enter it. So the more you do of them, the faster and easier it becomes. Only one agency has to document per call. So again, if there's like 5 agencies showing up to the same call, usually it's the ALS agency in New York. Now this varies if you go to a different state, but in New York it tends to be the ALS agency that's going to do the documentation, because the ALS agency knows what meds were given, what airway type was used, etc. Let's see, what else did I want? So what support would be available? Again, there's support from CARES. There's a New York State representative. Her name is Susie Burnett. I'm sorry I put an A in it. But she's at the University of Buffalo. She is the New York State rep for CARES and available for questions. And REMO staff's been doing it for the past number of years. So of course we would be willing and available to help anybody with that. And then the final question that virtually always comes up is, how come you have to double enter? If you have to put this in on an electronic platform of some type that's going to go to New York State, why the dickens won't they take this? Well, one of the reasons is the information that is ultimately collated, and please Alex correct me on this because you know I'm not the computer geek. But the information that ultimately is retained at the state level does not include the private demographic information. Those are not necessary elements for NEMSIS, and they are necessary for CARES. So that's one of the reasons. Early on, CARES used to say they wouldn't take it from a third party, but that's ridiculous because they now take it from a number of third parties. But that had been a problem in the past. It is a bummer. I wish that everything that went in on our EPCRs would roll over, but as of yet, that's not happening in New York. And take a look at mycares.net. That's where I stole some of the information on the second page. But there's certainly a lot more information about the history. There's explanation from CARES that I didn't just give you. I wanted to touch on the practical things, what it actually means to you. I never thought I'd say it, but I really advocate for you taking a close look from your agency and then hopefully deciding to go ahead and take part so that your information is utilized at the national level.
It's great because I got information like my median age was 61. 78% were men, 21% were women. All of them were Caucasian. Most of them happened in the home. 36% had bystander CPR. 5%, 5.3% overall survival rate with what we did. So I mean, they do give you really good statistics once a year to see how you're doing.
And not only is it once a year, which is the annual report, which is both national, I think then it's statewide and then local.
I just get national and mine.
You can actually, if you're taking part in CARES, you can actually go into reports and kind of solicit other types of reports. In REMO, and then COVID hit, so we never really got to do this. But one of the things that we were looking at was there CPR instructions provided by dispatch? That was a thing that we were going to do, and then we were going to develop some programming to maybe enhance that for EMD.
And they actually came back with like 3 suggestions for my agency. One was work with your dispatch center to implement dispatcher-assisted CPR, implement high-performance CPR, and community CPR and public access defibrillation training.
Oh, and the only other thing I would mention from the practical aspect, if you are using this data to, go to your county officials or whoever holds the purse strings, make sure you know your benchmarks. So you know, Beth just quoted 36% bystander CPR. What's the benchmark for that? What's CPR across the country?
I have to pull it up.
I
Because it
looked it
tells
up,
me.
I looked it up once a long time ago, and I think it was about 39%. But I think at least with this, we'd all like to be like Lake Wobegon, and everybody should be above average. So if we could get more bystander CPR, if we could get more AEDs to the patient side. But again, thank you. Don't hesitate to either call me. I will try to call back. I'm only in the office 2 days a week, or better yet, email me. And I'll be happy to, you know, try and answer your questions for you.
They say 41.5% of cardiac arrests get bystander CPR.
So a little bit of improvement from the last time I looked it up.
Thanks, Deb. Transportation and standards.
On May 14th, an email was sent and acknowledged by Justin C. Smith, Montgomery County EMS, reminding the agency to have their municipal CON conversion application submitted by November 1st, 2024 in order to make sure the process is completed on time before the March 7th, 2025 expiration date.
Alrighty. Because we're in May, it's that time of year for a nominating committee to be appointed. Jack, you want to head that up?
Yeah.
You usually do. And then, any volunteers to assist him? We'll all speak at once. Jim? And Ken?
What are we selecting for? Just
Officers.
our officers, so
Officers.
what roles are we,
Chair? And Secretary?
chair and
Vice chair.
secretary treasurer rolled into one?
Vice
And
chair.
Vice Chair.
Just for the region? Okay.
The annual meeting's in June. That's when elections should happen, so nominating committee
It's like now.
is now.
Yeah.
Somebody went and read the bylaws today.
Dangerous.
All right, state council report.
State council occurred, was it last week? Yeah, something
Yep.
like that. I'm gonna hit highlights.
Forgive me, I just have a meeting on campus that I gotta make, but
Fine.
you don't have anything that needs a vote, right?
No.
Okay. Consider it.
Committee, the critical care sunset was again discussed at length, no changes. Just so you know, there's been increased enrollment in the bridge class with 63 students currently enrolled. They're still committed to running 2 cohorts a year. The MEL-REMS region, which is Monroe-Livingston, gave a presentation on research and medication errors in pediatric patients, mainly regarding proper dosing. They have instituted a region-wide program called ANTEVI that is available to all of their providers. I'm not sure if it's ALS or ALS and BLS, to help with reducing medication errors for their pediatric patients. And I would really think that that's something that as a region we should probably look into at some point and see if we can get that. I know nothing about it other than it's for pediatric medication. Please check your PD length-based tapes to figure out what year they were last replaced. I found some from 2008 recently. They have dosages on them for medication, so make sure they're up to date. The Manhattan Community College paramedic students are comparing length-based tapes and PD wheels to our protocols to make sure that they're accurate and current. Bureau staff report, they said that they're out conducting many service inspections. One thing that's being noted is the EMS vehicles are not being lettered with what is on their operating certificate. This should be complied with. They're finding operational improvement on inspections, noticing less expired items, and they're working on portal submissions for agency renewal and CS renewal. If you are an agency that has a pediatric emergency care coordinator, there are now PEC kits available. They contain, it'd be one per agency, they contain the new pediatric assessment triangle, which is also available on the state web, badge buddies for vital signs, PD wheels, pediatric tapes such as the Breslow and the Hand-Tevi, a communication board, STEM toys, and each agency should, as I said, who has a PEC coordinator can get one of these kits for their agency. The submission portal for course sponsors is being updated. The applications for course sponsors were sent out. I believe it was at 60 long and 60 short, Alex?
I don't remember the exact numbers, but that sounds
That
about
sounds right. And we have at least one agency I know of in the region that needs to do it. We only have, I think, 6 or 7, I looked them all up, course sponsor agencies, you know, course sponsors in the area. So those will be due June 30th, and then the region has 45 days to review them and get them into the state, and we'll deal with a motion later to make sure that we can cover any of those that come in during the summer. CME processing is about 6 weeks out due to volume. Please check new policy statements regarding instructor processing and hazmat education requirements for courses. The state is working with the PSI Testing Center on a mobile testing site option for the future, where PSI would come into an underserved area and set up for a few weeks for people to test if you knew you were getting a large group of people passing a course. Please remember your agency, if you are on EPCR, needs to be on NEMSIS 3.5 by July 1st. Vital signs will be in Rochester in October. The new equipment regulations are moving forward. They hope that they will be out for public comment on the registry this summer. Part V of the state budget did not get into the final budget. While it wasn't passed, there are lots of bills regarding EMS in the Assembly and State. I think they've only got a few more days of session, so I haven't heard of anything coming through. The position for state EMS medical director, they're hoping that this position, the posting for it, will come in the next year. There is a state level credentialing committee. The progress to date has been slowed down because they're awaiting legal clarification on the current proposed laws. With regard to the new protocols, the physicians made a change to the formulary substitutions. There's now the formulary and drugs that can be substituted in with REMAC approval. The CMAC reaffirmed that naloxone remains the only opioid agonist for use by public safety personnel approved by the commissioner, that nalbuphine is to be removed from the alternative medication formulary. iGel, for those of you who are in the iGel program, data has been their biggest challenges. They are going to present their data to the National Registry of EMTs. The mean time to placement in 6 minutes. The mean size of the device is 4. There have been 256 uses in the state as that comes out by report, and an additional 54 of PCRs that got sent in where somehow the state data didn't make it over to the study. There have been 237 successful placements with no adverse effects. And out of those 237, there have been 158 patients that have ROSC, twice as many male patients as female patients. New definition of what patient contact is. Patient contact has been defined as, quote, patient encountered by EMS with a medical injury or problem. Encountered means visual contact. An assessment must be performed on all encountered patients.
Visual?
Visual.
So I can see you 3 miles away and I had now return them.
I'm only reading
I
what was
get
here.
that, but no one brought that subject up?
I wasn't in that committee.
No. Boy, it seems weird.
We did approve the new education regulations, and there will be more policy that comes out to support those. That's the report. And I did attach this report to the minutes that went out today.
REMAC, Beth sent something out last week or earlier in the week about the REMAC recommendations. Take a minute, review that, we can discuss it at the next REMAC meeting.
Sure. REMAC had a meet, so the docs that were here had a last meeting kind of mapped out a roadmap for where they'd like to see things go with REMAC in 2024. It has been divided into a few areas. First was communications with the hospitals. They'd like to provide the medical control facilities with the new BLS statewide and ALS collaborative protocols. They'd like to provide the medical control hospitals the EMS formularies by level so that they can understand that a EMT can't give MAG. So I have to write that yet. They'd like to educate the hospital providers to have some empathy for the EMS providers who are providing care in an emotionally and physically challenging environment, and make them understand that EMS providers are mandated responders. They have no choice in what patients they care for. Occasionally, the field provider's selection of the destination facility is not what the hospital thinks is best for the patient. Please realize that the EMS providers are making the best decisions for their patients' situations. For medical directors of agencies, they'd like quality assurance and medical oversight, encouraging medical directors to engage with their agencies, become involved in QA/QI processes, and understand the field providers' reasons for decision making. They'd also like the medical directors to provide education to the agency. Through QA and QI, identify and mitigate through education instances where care can be improved. Encourage medical directors to attend and provide education for their agencies. They would like medical directors of RSI agencies to provide a yearly report that's been reviewed by their medical director on RSI usage for the previous year. They would like the medical directors to develop and participate in a reduction of lights and sirens program, determine if every use of lights and sirens is medically necessary. For the REMAC, they'd like for themselves to develop additional REMAC advisories to be populated on both MURU and in the ARM section of the REMO website. For example, the recent resolution that in order to be an ALS provider, that CPR, ACLS, and PALS must be current at all times. Develop ALS onboarding standards for agencies to utilize. Set up a regional leave behind Narcan program and encourage agency participation. Determine if all agencies who are providing glucometry have a current CLIA waiver. Explore the development of requiring agencies in the region to participate in the CARES program. For the agencies, RSI agencies to provide a yearly report. Criteria needs to be developed. Determine all agencies who are using glucometry if they have a CLIA. Participate in the Leave Behind Narcan program. The reduction of lights and sirens program. Obviously CARES, because we said it someplace else. And encourage all providers to take the BOLS training in the Vital Signs Academy Learning Management Platform. So that's what they've kind of set up as their roadmap for this year.
All right. County reports, Delaware.
There's a EMT class going on in Hancock, and that's about it right now.
It's carried.
Well, we have anything.
Otsego?
Business as usual, I'm gonna say.
We just had 2 classes test out.
And do we know the results on those or not?
They have done their PSC, I don't have numbers, and there will be a refresher class starting on the 29th of this month to run through the summer.
We have nothing for Montgomery.
No.
Fulton?
Nothing.
And Hamilton.
Waiting for 4 students to get signed up for state exam.
Is that the long leg class?
Yep.
Old business, the only thing old business wise is Beth made that new meeting date sheet out for the, moving the meeting from the 17th of October to the 24th. Any new business?
I would note that it would be appropriate to allow the chair to sign on behalf of the council core sponsor renewals received between now and the September meeting of the council. I would make that a motion.
I would second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? The only other new business that I can think of is the EMS memorial. That date has been changed to September 19th of 2024, in hopes that the new memorial will be completed by then. Any other new business? If not, I will take a motion to adjourn. See y'all next month.